Okay, so I'm just going to now describe exactly what Manchester Veg People is. So we're a multi-stakeholder co-op. So we've got three categories of co-op members. We've got the growers, the buyers, and the workers at the moment. We're an industrial and provident society. So we've got mutual trading status. So basically that means that we're just trading the produce within the co-op. So that kind of means good things for tax and stuff like that. So we're basically one point of contact for the buyers, enabling them to source from, at the moment, 8 different farms. So that makes it easy from their point of view. And then for the growers, we're one central hub that's then distributing to lots of different buyers. So for the growers, that's, we're handling that side of things. So at the moment, our buyer customers are restaurants, caterers, and public sector organisations. The reason we're selling to that market is basically because there was a gap in the market there. So we're trying to get more of our growers' produce sold across Manchester. There was already, I don't know how well people know Manchester, but there's already a really awesome grocers called Unicorn. So they've kind of got the shop side of things pretty much covered. There's some good box schemes as well. So basically, this was like something that there wasn't really anyone doing this side of things at that point. So
part of this public sector.
At the moment, we're just selling to University of Manchester, but it's something we really, and this is something that Kinling, we're working really closely with Kinling on because they've got really good connections with different councils across Greater Manchester, schools and that sort of thing. So, we're talking to Stockport Council at the moment, trying to get in supplying there. So yeah, it takes a long time to kind of work with
it does take
councils.
Time. It's also, we sort of take a different approach to that as Kinling and bring in Manchester Veg People as the answer, but I'll talk about that at the end. It's a different thing, really different problem.
Yeah, but there's something that we really, it's an interesting one because obviously when you say to people that you're selling to restaurants, people are a bit like, oh, that's a bit exclusive and kind of, but it is coming from that idea of supporting the growers and wanting to expand their market, basically. And also that public sector thing is something that we've always wanted to do and always plan on doing and are working on constantly. But so
can I ask about the university? Do you have any issues with it, like the seasonality of the university?
Yeah, I'm going to speak about that later, definitely. Yeah, because obviously they're not there. We've got two sides of the university that we supply, which we supply the catered halls, which they're not there at the moment, so that's a bit of a nightmare. But we also supply food on campus, which are the on-campus cafes.
Right.
And at the moment, they're buying loads of stuff because they're doing graduation, and they're doing big events, so that's kind of good. But yeah, there is a bit of time where they're not there. So there are 4 main things that we're really trying to do as a co-op. So we're trying to get a fair price for the produce, basically. So we aim to set prices that are based on the actual cost of production, and I'll speak a little bit more about that later on. But basically we're trying to set a price that's at least getting the growers the minimum wage for the work they're doing, which is not amazing, but at least it's better than what a lot of growers are getting. We're trying to increase the amount of sustainably produced produce that's actually getting out into Manchester, so hence why we're going for this new market where there's lots of space to expand. We're trying to reduce waste, and this is through a couple of different things, basically. Through crop planning, so we're planning together as a co-op what's being grown, like in amongst the growers. So the growers themselves are coordinating with each other, so they know what each other's growing, so they're not like having the same duplicating stuff or whatever. But also we're crop planning between the growers and the buyers. So the idea is that the buyers are giving the growers an idea of what produce they're going to want over the next year or so, and the growers are then growing according to that information. And also the other way we're reducing waste is through picking to order. So we're not, a really key thing about us is that we're not a wholesaler. We haven't got a warehouse full of produce all the time. We've got a small storage space that we store the produce in overnight, so it's picked. So it's been picked this afternoon. The growers deliver it to the storage space, it stays there tonight, and then I'll be out in the morning delivering it. So it's not, that's as much as it's stored basically. So yeah, we're only picking what's been ordered. So we're not kind of having to throw away a bunch of stuff that's gone off in the warehouse. And then the other main thing that we're trying to do is increase cooperation within the food supply chain. So, you know, that's one of the key things about being a co-op with the buyers as part of the co-op as well as the growers. So the crop planning, all that sort of thing. We're trying to, basically we've shrunk the food supply chain down to basically having no middleman effectively, because the growers and the buyers are talking to each other directly. So yeah, which is obviously quite different from a lot of other situations where the supply chain is just insanely long. So yeah.
Are you 100% channel for all those growers?
How do
You take all their produce, or they also sell through other
No, they also sell to other places.
About what would be the balance?
It depends on the grower. So we've got two growers who are closest to Manchester, who were the main guys who were the kind of first founder members. And they've always sold to Unicorns Grocery in South Manchester, which takes a lot of stuff. So they're selling probably the bulk of their produce there, and then to us. And then if there's any surplus, they'll sell to another organic wholesaler. But then with other, so it'll be totally different. So with some newer growers that we've taken on board, we'll have a totally different kind of market spread. But yeah, we're not taking everything from anybody at the moment.
We will do.
Yeah. Also, it depends on the size of the grower, but I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So basically, the way it works is we have the crop planning in December. The way it's meant to work. So I'll say now the way it's meant to work in practice, and then I'll say later on the practicalities of actually making it work. So we have the crop planning in December. It starts off with the growers meeting, so growers talking to each other and coordinating what they're going to grow. They've obviously sent out before that what they're planning, and then they can finalise it and discuss together at that meeting. And then after they've coordinated with each other, then we'll have the growers and buyers. So how we've structured it, we've only done 2 so far. So yeah, we're still working out how it works properly in practice. But basically, the buyers will just go around each of the growers and have a chat with them about what they're planning. And then the idea is that we get quantities off the buyers of what they expect to buy per week of each different item. And then, so the way the co-op is designed to sustain itself is financially is through the members' levy. So basically, all co-op members pay a levy, and it's done slightly different for the growers and for the buyers. So the buyers basically pay what is effectively a kind of markup on the produce they buy, but it's classed as a members' levy. So they pay 35% on top of the price that we pay to the growers. So that should, once we've got enough buyers on board, that should be enough to cover the running costs of the co-op. And then the growers pay a levy quarterly based on how much produce they've sold through the co-op. So there's bands according to, so if you sold 0 to 100 quid's worth of produce that quarter, you don't pay anything. If you sold 100 to 250, you pay 10 quid, something like that. So that's just invoiced for importer, and it's quite low. The levy's quite low for the growers just because that's all they can kind of afford at the moment. The way we kind of work as a co-op in terms of decision making, we have roughly quarterly meetings for the whole co-op, but that kind of is a bit flexible and depends on how, obviously now is a crazy busy time and it's quite difficult to get everyone together for a meeting. and one of those is the crop planning. And then we have a board of directors which has got 2 growers and 1 buyer member on it at the moment, and myself and Helen. Hopefully more people as we try and persuade people to get involved with the board, and that meets monthly. So that's really making, the constant strategic decisions that you need to make to progress the project. We make decisions by consensus. That's how we try and make decisions. If we ever need to go to a vote, which we haven't, I don't think, yet for anything, but if we ever need to go for a vote, the voting is weighted, because what we wanted to do is make sure that the growers, because in a traditional kind of food supply chain situation, the growers are probably the section with the least power, so they haven't really got a very strong voice in terms of decision making. So if we ever had to go to a vote, it is weighted so that the growers' vote kind of counts for more, and also because we're always going to have more buyers than we have growers. So at the moment we've got 8 growers and 20 plus buyers, so you need to make sure that it's balanced out, basically. So the advantages of one of the kind of other main advantages of the co-op for the growers, apart from the kind of 4 main things I mentioned earlier, is that it's basically taking all the logistics and marketing and sales kind of burden off the growers. So all that day-to-day kind of finding buyers, getting the message out there, getting publicity out is me doing that. And they can just get on with growing the veg, so that works really well for them. So I've got a bit of, so you might want to have a look at some of these. So these are the brochures that we've made, which go out to potential buyers. So that's really trying to get a strong message across about what our ethos is and how different we are from a normal wholesaler. So hopefully that comes across in that. And then we've also got window stickers, which you can't really see, but it's a window sticker. For the restaurants to put in their windows. So as they would when they get in the Good Food Guide or whatever, they can stick that in the window with that. And then we've got these things which are table talkers, which basically those are for the restaurants. So we've got this kind of strong identity, which is all about saying we are this. So you see it all through the brochure and on the thing, it's like we're a co-op, it's us. We're a kind of, that's our identity. It's all about making sure that the restaurants are kind of putting that across as well, that they're part of the co-op. That's our kind of brand identity and our marketing stuff. We do a lot of, mainly Twitter for social media, and Twitter has been brilliant for getting in touch with restaurants. We've got a lot of customers or interest through Twitter, and so I do all that sort of stuff as well. Just in general, having an employee of the co-op to do all of this kind of admin, finances, distribution, marketing, all of that sort of stuff is really great for the growers, basically. So just to kind of conclude, we are quite different from a normal wholesalers, and this is kind of one of the reasons that the buyers are really interested in working with us, because they love. I mean, the quality of the veg is amazing because these growers are just really great growers, really good. It's coming from small market gardens mainly, but varying sizes. So there's a lot of attention to detail gone into the growing of the veg. So obviously restaurants love that. They want really good quality produce. That's one thing that comes back a lot, is that they cannot get, and it's fresh. It's so fresh as well. So they just can't get produce this good from anywhere else. They are really into the local thing, and that is much more of a. It's been really interesting actually, chatting to chefs and kind of that is so much more of a selling point than the organic thing, which is interesting. They're not depends, but a lot of people aren't so interested in the organic thing, but they really want to get local stuff, and they really love being able to having that connection to the growers. So we do chefs visits out to the farms, and they go crazy for that. They love it. They love being able to go and pick the stuff and eat it straight out of the ground and see how it's growing. And say what they're after, and and it's been really, really good for the growers as well, because there are some high-end restaurants that are buying all sorts of things that our growers perceive to be weeds. The restaurants are buying like chickweed and fat hen and things like that, which is really random, but they're selling that, which is amazing because that stuff is just growing. It's like they're foraging it basically, and it's weeds on their land. And so there's all sorts of these weird markets that you never thought you'd kind of get into. So we'll grow unusual stuff for them. We'll do kind of different things, so they love that. And yeah, that's